This is Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow with some more holiday tips for you. I hope you've been enjoying the podcast, and I also hope that you have been enjoying my December's daily discard, as well as affirmations and everything else that you need to help you prepare for ending 2011 and getting yourself ready for 2012. So today we're going to start off again with the holiday treat. I'm going to show you something sweet. We'll start over here with some cookies. This is a really easy and nice recipe that you can do. I'm going to start by taking 2 tablespoons of butter, which I've already melted, and I may have to reheat that a little bit. You don't want it too hot when you do your chocolate, because remember, chocolate burns. So I have 2 tablespoons of butter in here. I have 2 green and black bars, 85% organic. You might want to do 70% depending on how sweet you want your cookies, or you might want to add a little bit a little bit more sweetener when we get that far. But anyway, what we'll do is we'll just mix it in with the preheated butter, help melt the chocolate, and that might take you a couple of minutes because you don't want to rush the process or things are going to separate, and again, your chocolate can burn, so you want to really melt your chocolate very gently. In fact, again, technically it's best if you melt it over a double boiler, or some of you may not know what that is. That basically is a pan filled with water, and then you set your melting pan on top of that, so it's not directly on the heat. But because I've done this for so many years so easily, for me, I just don't want to take out 2 pans and have to fool with everything, and as you know, the simpler the better in my world. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and melt this chocolate up for you. This is nice and smooth now. You can see, if you have a couple of chunks, it's okay. Either it will melt or it'll be, like a little chocolate chip in your cookies, so no big deal. So here I have my mixing bowl. I already have in for you a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, aluminum free. You want to be sure and check for that when you get your baking powder. And I also have just a dash of salt. And this is the sea salt, the fleur de sel, which I prefer. It's very, very strong, so I just have a dash in there, and I want it to melt in. Usually this type of salt, you take about at least a half, sometimes a little less than a half of what any recipe calls for that you use it in. So I'm going to take that and pour my chocolate in. And if you've read maybe I shouldn't give away my secrets, but on the Embracing Your Dark Side, I do address the issue of chocolate in there. So I'm just going to give you that interesting little hint, and I hope that you will read that article. I know a lot of you are following it right now. It was fun to write, and I always learn things about myself. So we put in the 2 bars of chocolate. I'm going to add in a 1/2 cup of the organic coconut crystals. And now I made this once before, and I like this recipe a lot. It's one reason I'm sharing it with you. And because I used the 85% dark chocolate, I added just a little bit more sweetener in. And my sweetener of choice is the maple syrup. So I added 2 tablespoons of that. So I'm going to suggest to you, when you make it, you can either try it with a 1/2 cup of your choice of sweetener, or you can do what I do. But if you don't have the ingredients, don't rush out. Use what you have on hand. And you can try it before you add the eggs. They say you shouldn't eat raw eggs, of course, although I know some of you do. So try it before you add the eggs. If you don't think it's quite sweet enough, then put in a little bit more. And you could use more of this if you have this on hand, or whatever. Like I said, don't stress yourself. Don't run out and buy a bunch of stuff. That's not what we want you to do, and it kind of starts defeating the purpose. Now here, this is interesting. This is a 1/4 cup of flour. Now this is some flour that I actually made myself using rolled oats, and this is what it looks like in the bag after I've done it. I put it back, but you know what rolled oats are. I did this in my coffee grinder or my spice grinder. You can do it in your blender, and you can also do it in your food processor, depending upon how much you want. And I was self-diagnosed, I should say, many years ago as gluten intolerant, because what I did, I took a cooking class, a whole week cooking class, where we actually made gluten and ate it. And I was sicker than a dog, and I could not stand the sight of bread or anything with gluten in it for about 6 months. And then just to test myself to make sure, I took a little bit of gluten about 6 months later, and I was sick, but not as sick. So I thought, yes, I have gluten intolerance. That bothers me. So I started many years ago making my own flour out of oatmeal. So rolled oats, grind it up, and then that makes a nice little flour. So it's 1/4 cup. And if you have other flour on hand, that's fine too. Whatever you like, put it in there and see how it turns out for you. As I said, it's a simple recipe. And it was amazing to me how good this turned out. It doesn't look like much, but I actually got about 28 cookies. And with the ingredients that I used, it was about 6 carbs per cookie. So, it also takes 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And as you know, I'm just going to throw a dash in. You've seen me do that before. Yep, looks like about a teaspoon. Good, looks good to me. And the last ingredient is just a couple of eggs. I'm going to put that in. Now, if your cocoa is hot, it can actually cook your eggs. So if you're concerned about that, make sure that your things will cool off before you add the eggs in. It just gets stirred in, and that's really your last ingredient. It's very simple. And you just put it on your cookie sheet about a tablespoon at a time, which I'm going to do for you, and then I'm going to show you how it turns out. It is a very simple holiday cookie. It's good. It's not too bad for you. Chocolate is good for you, as is all of life, because your body needs sweet things. It just depends on which sweet things you choose to put in. And again, you want to remember not to eat for emotional gratification and satisfaction, but because your body actually needs some carbohydrates, some sweetener, whether it's grain or whether it is sugar, it is still carbohydrates. Your body needs that. So let's see if I can get any more chocolate out of my pan. Finish this up. I don't like anything to go to waste if I don't have to. And then I have a cookie sheet here, which I have put some organic spray olive oil on. And I'm just going to put this on by tablespoons. Basically about a tablespoon per cookie will give you, according to my calculations, the ingredients that I am using, about 6 carbs per cookie. Okay, I'm going to even these out just a little bit, because as you know, if you can keep them kind of even, it helps with baking, so that everything is done when it's supposed to be at the same time. You don't have one thing getting done before everything else. So with that, for those of you who read my daily discard, I have a nice clean oven to put things into. So this is going to go in. I'm going to set my timer for about 10 minutes. Well, actually, I will set it. It takes about 10, maybe 12. I'm going to set it for 8 minutes, and then I'm going to check it, because I don't want them overdone. I don't like my stuff overdone. And I'm going to move this out of the way. The next thing I want to show you is I want to show you a really nice winter soup that I enjoy. This, I've already started it for you. I showed you very early on in my podcast how to make a nice chicken soup. This I've actually done with turkey bones. So I made my own broth out of the turkey bones. And in it, I have 1 chopped up onion. I have 3 leeks, 3 heads of garlic, and I have 2 large potatoes. And they have been simmering and boiling all day long to help give it nice, good flavor. Now I want to take you over here to my cutting board, because I want to show you some things. To review, I have about 8 to 10 cups of turkey stock. I have 3, because this is a really nice garlicky soup. I have 3 heads of garlic in there, which have been chopped up. I have a whole onion, which I also chopped up. I have 3 leeks, and I put those in my saucepan, or my saute pan, these 3 things, and I sauteed them till they were soft. I also have 2 large potatoes in there, and this helps to thicken the soup, which is really nice. You can do this to any sort of clear soup if you want to. That I actually put in the soup stock to simmer. And then after these were ready and soft, I put those in the soup stock. So very simple ingredients and a really delicious, nutritious soup. Now this is a leek. It's an organic one that I got from our friend Cindy. And I know not everybody knows how to prepare a leek, and some people might get a little intimidated, or if you've tried one before and you wound up with dirt inside of it, that's also very discouraging. So I want to show you how to take care of a leek properly. It comes with the roots. This you want to chop off, discard. Now, some of the recipes that I read call for the white of the leek, which just comes up to here, or maybe even here, and a lot of that is to preserve the color of your soup. Personally, I like to use the green part because there's a lot of nutrition in here and I don't want to waste it. I'm going to discard these outer leaves. Just put them in the sink for now. Okay, and you can see there's a lot of dirt in here. Now, leeks are typically grown in sandy soil, and if anyone has been to the beach, you know how hard it is to get sand out of your clothes, your shoes, and everything. So that's why there's so much sand in your leeks. So I'm just going to get that off because that's visible. I'm going to also cut off any part that looks like it's not really something that you want to be putting in your body. That comes off. Now, at first glance, you might think you're done cleaning your leek. And I've made that mistake, and that's why I want to share this little tip with you. Remember, the leek is just a big onion. So look, as we look in here, there's more and more sand, and I like to take my knife and actually just cut down it so that I can look inside, and I want to be sure I get all the sand out. It can hide. I have found it in so many places, and when I really thought my leek was clean, I found out it wasn't, and it's very discouraging to be putting handfuls of dirt into whatever it is you're cooking. Like, no. So be sure you open up your leek and make sure it's clean. See, it's hiding even way down in there. You just never know. Now, Cindy's soil isn't sandy. It's different here in Michigan. But typically, if they're grown in California, Washington State, they're grown in sandy soil. And then, of course, I'm going to rinse off my cutting board because it's now got dirt and sand in that as well. And then what I do is I put it in my hydrogen peroxide bath to soak and to clean it up. You know, one last time I'm going to put it over here, and of course I've always got things going. So these are applesauce apples that I've got, as well as some potatoes in there, and I'll move things around and take things out later. But I want to be sure that that's well cleaned before I put it into my soup. Okay, back to what I've been simmering for you. Now this is really a nice soup. You can serve it just like this, a little salt and pepper. You can add anything else into it. I will tell you a secret that I tell my family that it is potato soup, because if I told my boys it was leek soup and garlic soup, they would go, yuck, awful. So depending upon your audience, you can serve it like this. You can name it whatever you like. And I have one of these handy tools, a hand blender, that I can blend it right into the pot. Now before I had this handy tool, I used my blender, or you can use a food processor. However, you don't want to blend it while it's hot because it will pop all over the place, is the best way I can say it. I've had that experience too. You put it in and the heat rises when I put the lid on, and next thing I know it's all over the kitchen. So I've had plenty of cooking disasters, trust me. Didn't affect the flavor of the soup, except my frustration, which hopefully I didn't put into the soup. So this handy tool, you can actually do it right in the pot, so I don't have to cool it and then transfer to a blender and clean my blender and all that. So it makes it a lot easier for me. So I just put this in my soup, I turn it on, and it starts blending everything together so it turns into more of a cream soup. Okay, let's check and see how it's doing. You can see how nice that looks. You're going to have a few more chunks in here than you are if you put it in your blender or your food processor. So, again, it depends on what your goal is. For me, I just want something that's fast. If you're going to freeze it, if you're one person or a small family, you want to go ahead and divide this out and put some in your freezer for later so that you're not eating soup all day long for the next 2 weeks, and also so it doesn't go bad because you do have a meat broth in here. The other thing that you can do, if you like, you can add some cream. You can add half and half. You can put goat milk in. You can put in some unflavored coconut milk if you want, or flavored, depending upon your taste buds. Then you want to just put a little salt and pepper in it, and I like a couple dashes of some kind of a hot sauce in there, or red pepper flakes, because I like my things a little bit on the spicy side. But that's up to you, whatever you want to add in. But you can see it makes a really lovely soup. It's very easy to do, and you know, it's nutritious. It's good for you. What can I say? Okay, I'm going to unplug this. My timer is beeping. We're going to check our cookies and see if they're done or if they need a couple more minutes yet. No, they're going to need a couple more minutes. You can see that. So let's set the timer. I think I'm going to do about 3 minutes, and I think they're going to be good. Okay. So in the meantime, I'm just going to pull this out. And this is very easy cleanup. Again, it's just got a tiny little blade in the bottom. I just rinse it under the sink, and I'm good to go with this for the next time. I just throw a few red pepper flakes in there. Spice it up a little bit. A little bit of sea salt. A little bit of black pepper. And a dash or two of hot sauce. And you can serve it that way too. And I'm just going to let mine simmer and let all the flavors soak in today. It'll be a nice tasty treat for dinner. And I think the cookies are just about ready. Come out. These are perfect. They're kind of a cake-like consistency. And again, if you want them to cook longer, you can let them sit on the cookie sheet because they will continue to cook. Or if you like, you can just go ahead and start taking them off and let them cool. And be a little gentle with them because, as I mentioned, they're cake-like consistency, so they have a tendency to break up. Now, I like to eat them plain like this. You can also make a sandwich cookie out of them. Stewart likes them with some of the sun butter, a little bit of the plum nectar, which we get from Cindy, and a banana. So you can use your imagination. And that's kind of fun, like I said, to see what you can do with what you've got here. Take something very, very simple. No need for complications. Basic ingredients that you have on hand, you can easily keep on hand. A nice holiday cookie if you want to share it with your friends and family, your co-workers at the office. But you do have to be a little bit careful until they cool, and then they're not too bad as far as being delicate. And I can also make some of your sun butter cookies, which I showed you here not too long ago. You can add that. And of course the sun butter cups, a little nice candy. And I've got a few other tricks up my sleeve. We'll see how far we get this holiday season. Alright, there you go. So you're ready to roll. You've got some soup, you've got dessert. What more could you want? It was nice to visit with you again. Please be sure and continue to read about my December's daily discards. I have been enjoying the things that you have been sharing with me, what you're discarding and what that represents in your mind pattern. And also my affirmations, clearing the way. We want to get ourselves ready when 2012 runs around the corner here very, very quickly. And if you're really into hyperspace oversoul and you really want to get in there and have a week-long immersion, we have that for you as well in January. Be sure to contact Patricia, events@expansions.com, for registration details on that particular class. I wish you a wonderful week. I will see you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.